Ta-da! G'day guys, welcome back to Off-Road Crusader. This is episode 3 of the rear draw build series. This episode we're going to be going through adding on some of the little niceties to the draw setup to make it more of a super tourer. So the rear draw setup is pretty much done. It's installed in the car, the wing panels and everything are built. I'll put up a clip at the end of this one to show you how I went about doing that process. And you can see that it sort of really speeds up that, but it's all time consuming. It's all stuff that you sort of do and is specific to your vehicle. So I'll leave that bit up to you. The things we're going to be doing today is installing the air outlet and also my water outlet in the back of the drawers, or in the front of the drawers, I suppose. The first thing is the water tank. So you would have seen I've got a 42 litre Boab upright water tank in there. So that's going to be going through a 4 litre a minute water pump. I just got this one from eBay. Works well, basic little thing. That goes through a bunch of little adapters to go from the 13 mil that comes out of the tank down into 10 mil and then back out to 13 to meet up with one of these. So this is just a garden variety water connector, I suppose, for a hose. This is going to get mounted on the outside of the drawers or the drawer face, and then you'll then clip in a secondary hose into that to then use water from the system. If you're going to be doing this yourself, make sure you get a connector with a check valve installed inside it. This basically means that when you've got water pressure to this connector, no water is going to get through until you have something plugged into it. So when nothing's plugged into it, no water is going to come out of this, even if it's pressurized from behind. Definitely worth it in a rear draw setup because you don't want to accidentally press a button and turn your pump on and flood the back of your car, etc, etc. So that's going to be installed. There is also this kit from Redarc. This is to marry up with the Redvision system I'm going to be installing hopefully next episode. And this is basically a water temperature sensor kit. So it installs a few little bungs into the water tank, wires run back to the Redvision. You can see exactly how full or empty your tank is. Definitely worthy inclusion, and it's like if you've got the Redvision system, you may as well use all of its functions, and rather than just using a depth stick like I had in the old Prado. So that's going to be installed today as well. I've got an ARB twin compressor and air tank installed in the wings. That's going to stay there, but obviously the air outlet and the switch are covered up by the drawers, so they need to be moved. The compressor is going to be switched on and off by the Redvision system. The outlet is just going to be one of these ARB chucks on the actual drawer face, and when you want to use it, you can pull it out, and I've then got it on a hose reel. So this is a J-Flex 10 meter hose reel. You can buy these from Bunnings here in Australia for about 96% of my viewer base is in Australia, so everyone will get that reference. This is going to get installed in the actual wing of the drawer. All you're going to see is that chuck, and then it will just pull through and you're done and dusted. So we're going to get to working on it now. I've got to pull the drawers out of the car because I want to be able to show you what I'm doing, and even though you probably could install it sort of while cramped and everything, it's just much easier to pull it all out, and that's what I designed it for, so it's removable. Come along for the ride. We're going to be putting in the air compressor outlet and a water outlet into my rear drawer setup. I'm going to show you guys how you can do it yourself, so tag along and let's learn together. So I just wanted to take a moment and show you how I'm going about getting these wing panels sort of lined up. As you can see on that side there, it all lines up close enough. There's need to be a little bit of a gap because I'm going to wrap the carpet over the top, and the good thing with timber is you can always sand a little bit off if you need it. So that's how sort of those are all nice and lined up. The curves are slightly different left to right, so you can't just sort of flip them and copy and paste. So I'm just doing these ones from scratch. Essentially, you see here, so I'm doing 2 panels like on this side here. There's that joint in the center. So from here you can see I've sort of put little knocks there, and essentially all they are is if I take my ruler and I extend from this point here and I subtract 2 mil to allow for your carpet, that's 23, and I mark it on there. Then I'd go 24, next mark 25, next mark 23, and just work my way up like that. And essentially you can see there I've just roughly written down the distance perpendicular to that to match up with the wall there. And what that does is when I translate that to a piece of paper, so you have a piece of paper, you mark out all those points there, then you draw your lines. So for example on this one here I'll draw a line from this base mark up 29 centimeters, and that will give me that point up there. Yes, it takes a bit of time, but much better than sort of just eyeballing it or you know, just trial and error of just making a bunch of different templates. And then I'll work onto the front one. This can finally have a proper home to go to. I can finally close this gap in my panels. Back of the 200's all empty. Needs a vacuum. Can tell I've been doing a bit of woodworking here. Wood chips everywhere. There's the rear drawer. Just put this side out because this is where I'm going to install the water tank, the water pump and the air line. Before I get started on all that, I'm going to give everything a good coat of this. Just some satin black paint. It is all going to get carpeted. Well, all the outside surfaces are going to get carpeted, but it just helps when you look through the cracks or the gaps in the panels or whatever, that you don't immediately see bright timber coloured timber, that it's all nice and black. And then we'll get working on the air and the water.
2,000 years later.
And just like that, she's all nice and black. Obviously we're looking at the driver's side of the drawers at the moment. I fitted the water tank back in place just so I can actually mock up where everything's going to go. The good thing is the mounting bolts are super easy to put in, and just helps to sort of locate all the pipe work and stuff I'm going to be doing. So there's my pump there. This I'm actually going to terminate with just a little plug on the end there, so for whatever reason I can remove it. This has 10mm barbs coming out of the back of the water pump. Basically you need a bit of 10mm tube to go on there. There's going to be a hose clamp or probably even just a cable tie to go on that one there. And then from there it'll run off to the actual face of the wing, and then there'll be that hose connection on the end there. I don't want to have the pump sitting down. I don't know if you can see that it's like falling, you know, it's basically resting on the bottom. So I'm going to try and raise it up a few mil and screw it in there. It's got 4 feet on it, 4 rubber feet, which will take out a lot of the vibration and noise of the pump running. So I'm just going to use some wood screws to hold that in place. So it's worth remembering that this is a low pressure system. We're not talking about high pressure water or you know, air or anything like that. So in terms of like clamping force, you don't need to go overboard with holding everything down. Obviously, look, overboard's going to, you know, be better than anything else, but it's over sufficient for what this is. So I've applied this cable tie just behind where the barb sits on this fitting. Basically that means that the plastic is going to be as squashed as it can be behind that fitting, which is going to be nice and watertight on there. I'm very happy with that seal, so I'm going to do that on the water pump side as well, and on the adapter coming out the other side. Ta-da! There you go, look at that. Rotate that side, nice and tight. Boom! We have that all ready to go. I'm going to give this a quick coat of black paint so it all melds in. And just like that, the water system is all done and ready to go. I've left a little bit of length, you can see that sort of a little bit long, because when this front section gets put on last, I need a little bit of room to sort of pull this forward and then sort of do the connection at the back of that hose connection there. Otherwise, I'm not going to have any room to actually attach it on. So that's why that's a little bit loose like that. I may need to add a little bit of length later on, but I can deal with that later. So onto the air hose reel. Now what this one is, hang on, I'll grab it again. That one there, 10 meter J-Flex hose reel. That's going to get mounted about, say, there-ish. And then that will pass through the front there and should be good as gold. It's got this sort of mounting bracket on the back there so that you can obviously have it on like a bit of a swivel mount. I'm going to use that to obviously attach that onto there. I'll probably even add a little retaining bracket, so just an L bracket off the top there, and it will stop this from wanting to swivel out, so it'll sort of hold it in place. So that's the plan. Back to our friends, the little T-nut. So I'm going to be installing these in that upright there. That way this swivel section will attach to using those T-nuts, and then it'll be nice and secure, and I can build everything else around it. Well, there you go, look at that. Those 3 T-nuts, it still surprises me how strong they are and how like secure that all feels. Obviously I need to tighten these bolts up so I don't move the rest, but that just feels really sturdy. The other issue I've just thought of then is because on these, they're on like sort of like slide-on holes, so you put the bolts in and then the whole thing slots down about 10 mil. So to have a bottom platform's not really going to work in this application. So I think what's best is I'll just leave those as is, because that's still really, you know, that's really tight. That's not going anywhere. I'm going to have some way to sort of stop this from swinging out. So try and retain it somehow. It'd be good if there was some way to sort of lock that pin in at the top there, but anyway, that's pretty much the hose reel installed. And now I'll make up a little bracket to hold that thing on, and then I'll show you how I'm gonna go about bringing the hose reel through to the front. It's gonna be wicked. Now we're up to the one part where I've been really looking forward to and also dreading immensely having to install, which is the water tank sensor for the Redvision system. While I've sort of got it all out and, you know, I'm doing work and drilling lots of holes and that sort of stuff, I thought I'd jump on and do it now. Basically, it means I have to install these little sensors, which are like a little, I think they're like a resistance sensor or something like that, basically into the water tank. The way that does is you drill a hole through it, you push these through, and then you tighten the nut, and it pulls a rubber seal back around the hole that you've just drilled and makes it all watertight. Then the wiring harness, this one here, you match up the particular wire colors to the different sensor levels, wire them onto the end of that runs to the Redvision system and reads the like resistance, I think it is, of each of those sensors. And using those, it can then tell you whether you're at 80%, 60%, 40%, 20%, or empty. Really want the functionality of this sort of thing, because I just think it would be amazing compared to using a bloody depth stick or guessing how much water I've got left. But also drilling holes in a nice water-sealed water tank is not my idea of fun most of the time, but we're going to jump on and do it anyway because, you know, for YouTubes and stuff. Now, if you're going to be doing this one at home, make sure you actually measure out as best you can to find where these marks are going to be for you. It will obviously vary depending on your water tank. If you've got a nice square water tank or rectangle or something like that, it's going to be much easier because you just sort of figure out your volume and then work your way up from doing, you know, divide it into 20% increments. With mine, because it's got cutouts and stuff like that, I've had to do a bunch of mats and get it as close as I can. Obviously, you've got the thickness of the material to consider, you've got these cutouts here, and also a few other bit like these curbs. You know, you're never going to be 100% accurate, but I've marked them out using some green texture, basically where I think it needs to go, and that's as best as I can do, I think. So I've marked them out. I'm going to drill the holes now. We're going to install these little sensors. I'm going to attach the wiring loom and everything to those sensors and just run it probably down into the side. And that way, once I've got the Redvision system, all I have to do is plug that in and I can see exactly how much water is in my water tank. Here goes nothing. Whoa, there it is. My water tank is no longer watertight. That sensor goes in, look at that, freaking beautiful. That sits in there. I will mention that Red Arc do specify to use a 9.5mm drill bit or a 3/8 drill bit if you're, you know, from the Yankee land. Luckily enough, I had a 3/8 bit drill bit here, so I just use that to drill them through, and that fits perfectly. They just slide in. It's actually quite a snug fit, so you do have to sort of force them through. I'll install each of those sensors in the tank. You're not actually going to ever see these anyway, so they'll be all tucked away behind everything. On top of that, once I tighten them down, there is a little ring terminal. One of these bad boys that gets installed on top of that. That'll then connect up to, whoa, don't lose that. That'll then connect up to a corresponding wire depending on which one, which sort of level you're going for. So now what I'll do is I'll actually terminate, I'll tighten these sensors down so they're nice and snug. I'm going to terminate the ends of this, then run the wiring. I may even use some sticky backed cable tie holders to sort of just stick onto the back here, and that'll sort of just guide the cables down and keep it all nice and neat and free from moving. I'm sure eventually the stickiness will sort of wear off and stuff, but at least for now it'll look nice and pretty. So, you know, it's going to be, you know, good for Insta worthy. And just like that, we're all finished for the day. We have installed the J-Flex 10 meter hose reel to match up to my ARB compressor, so I can just run that out nice and easy. We've also tidied up and finished the water system for the 200 as well, installing the pump and the water outlet on there with a custom mount. I've also taken the liberty of installing a Anderson plug flush mount thing up the front there where the face is. That's going to be my auxiliary like solar input, so if I want to run a solar blanket or something like that. That way that's just mounted and done and dusted, and then I can wire that later. The final thing I've put in is the Red Arc water tank sensor for the Redvision system. Much quicker and easier than I thought it was going to be. Honestly, I thought I was going to be really struggling and there'd be a lot of things to do. It'd be finicky and it just leaks everywhere. But honestly, you tighten it all up and you can see that rubber just really, fill in those holes where they were. And look, I'm pretty happy that that's watertight. Really keen to actually hook the Redvision system up now and see how it all goes. So thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to support the show, have a think about getting one of our patches. So these are Velcro patches that you can stick onto your headlining in your car. Really cool little thing. All the famous influencers are doing it now, me included. So grab them if you want. Send me a message on Instagram if you're after one of those. Also the stickers and t-shirts like these ones as well if you want to be a real cool dude and, flash the merchandise. There is also Patreon. I will leave a link to that down in the description where you can get things like early access and also personalized messaging with me through Patreon, which is really cool. So if you want to support and be an absolute legend, that would be the way to do it. Thank you very much for watching again. I think it's the third time I've said that. But look, I'm really going now, so we'll catch you on the next episode for this DIY rear draw build. We're just about done.